Midnight wedding horror. Bride unveils groom's shocking betrayal, her devastating revenge. The clock struck midnight as the last guests stumbled out of the grand ballroom, their laughter echoing in the empty hall. The wedding, a dazzling affair shimmering with white petals and golden lights, faded into an eerie silence. But within that silence, a storm brewed. Catherine stood in her wedding gown, every crystal of her dress glinting ominously under the dim lights. Her breath hitched in her throat as she caught her reflection, eyes wide, pulse racing. She felt the weight of betrayal settle around her, heavy and suffocating. Moments before, she had exchanged vows, fingers intertwined with those of her groom. Jason, a man she believed to be her perfect match. Yet, as the night slipped away, a chilling truth crept in. Whispers from the kitchen staff reached her ears, a hushed, frantic conversation that made her heart plummet. Jason had been seen with another woman. A shadow danced behind the curtain of her bliss, dark and unyielding. The first strange element emerged when Catherine dashed toward the exit, heels clicking against the polished floor, her mind racing with dread. Outside, the fog curled around the estate like a ghostly shroud. Visibility was reduced to mere shadows, playing tricks on her eyes as she squinted into the night. She swore she saw a figure lurking among the trees, but it vanished before she could blink. Just the wind, or something more sinister? An icy shiver skittered down her spine, and she dug her nails into her palms, desperately wishing for clarity. As the minutes crawled by, her thoughts spiraled. What did she really know about Jason? Images flashed in her mind, sweet moments laced with secret doubts, laughter over cocktails now tainted with uncertainty. Tension braided itself into her chest. She clutched the railing, knuckles white as she tried to process the enormity of the betrayal. Each heartbeat echoed in her ears, driving her towards a decision that would change everything. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. She turned, adrenaline surging as the memories collided. Jason's whispered promises of forever, the way he'd kissed her that morning, the warmth in his eyes, all ripped away in one heart-stopping pulse of revelation. Outside, a flicker of movement caught her attention. The figure reappeared. Fear wrapped its icy fingers around her throat, leaving her breathless. Was this just her imagination, or was someone watching her? She propelled forward, driven by a fierce determination. Catherine needed answers, and she was ready to expose the truth. If Jason had betrayed her, then she would ensure he felt the full force of her wrath. Time slowed as she felt every hair stand on end. Would she confront him, or would the night reveal even darker secrets lurking beneath the surface? The tension thickened like fog, and inside her, a storm brewed, waiting to unleash havoc. What awaited her as she stepped back into the darkness? The night wrapped around Catherine like a velvet cloak, heavy with secrets and a dread that pulsated through her veins. Each step she took felt like a march toward her own ruin. The moon hung high, casting an eerie glow, illuminating the path ahead but shadowing the truth she sought. She rushed around the corner of the estate. Each breath came out jagged. She could almost hear the laughter of her guests in her head, a cruel reminder of the charade. Her heart thundered against her ribcage, frantic and loud, a drum signaling war. What if she was wrong? What if Jason had a perfectly reasonable explanation? But as the bitterness of betrayal wrapped tighter around her, she dismissed those thoughts. The whispers were sharp, crystalline, and undeniable. Suddenly, the figure materialized again, more distinct this time, standing at the edge of the trees. Reduced to a dark silhouette, it was as if the night had birthed this menace. She halted, a rush of adrenaline fueling her confusion and fear. "Who are you?" she called, conviction trembling in her voice. No answer. Just the rustle of leaves, an ominous whisper carried by the wind. It raised the hairs on the back of her neck. Was it Jason or someone else? Pressing her palms together, Catherine felt a heat rise in her chest, a cocktail of anger and determination. She would not back down. Not now. Cautiously, she stepped closer, eyes locked onto that dark shape. Each snap of a twig underfoot felt like a shout in the silence. "Show yourself," she demanded, her voice sharper now, cutting through the tension. The figure shifted, then took a step toward her, revealing features cloaked in shadow. She squinted, trying to discern who stood before her. Just then, a familiar voice broke the quiet. "Catherine." It was Jason, a frantic, desperate cry slicing through her resolve. Relief and rage collided within her. How dare he come after her now, with the night's betrayal clinging to him like smoke. "What are you doing out here?" she shouted, her voice cracking. "You should be inside, celebrating what you've ruined." His expression morphed from bewilderment to hurt, and Catherine felt a pang of something. Was it sympathy? No, she crushed that thought underfoot. There was no room for weakness here. "Catherine, please, let me explain." "Explain what?" she spat, her breath shallow with indignation. "How you snuck around with another woman while I stood at that altar." He stepped toward her, hands raised as if to shield himself from her wrath. "It's not what you think. I was going to tell you. I swear." But Catherine couldn't listen. Every word that dripped from his mouth was another thorn in her side. Hot tears stung at her eyes, but she refused to give in, refused to show him how much he hurt her. Instead, rage surged forward, pushing her into the heart of that storm she had felt brewing in her. "Who was she?" she demanded. "Who do you think you are, lying to me like this? Let us just talk. Please," he pleaded, but Catherine wasn't interested in talking. Not anymore. Suddenly, the figure in the shadows shifted again, stepping into the light as if in response to her fury. Catherine's breath caught in her throat as she registered the face, an unfamiliar yet hauntingly lovely woman. Eyes dark and locked on her with an unsettling intensity. The unseen pieces of Jason's betrayal slipped into an even more horrific picture. "Who is she?" Catherine gasped, glancing between them, each second feeling like a nail being driven deeper into her heart. "Just someone I knew before," Jason faltered, the weight of his words hanging heavy like a noose. The tension fractured, and Catherine's resolve hardened. This was no longer just about her love. This was a war against deceit, a fight that would unveil every hidden truth. And as she stood before them, choices swirled in her mind. Would she tear down the life they built together? Would vengeance ignite an unforgiving flame? The answer hung painfully close. "I'll make you both regret this," she vowed softly, steeling herself for the storm ahead. But just as she turned to leave the chaos behind, something dark fluttered in the periphery, a sense of impending doom creeping closer, urging her to confront the truth once more. What had she unleashed? What awaited her in the eye of this hurricane? Catherine fought the urge to look back, but the chilling energy of the moment held her in a trance. She could feel the weight of Jason's eyes, pleading yet filled with regret, as she took a shaky step forward. The night was oppressive, as if it conspired against her, wrapping its tendrils tighter with each heartbeat. Just who was that woman, and what role had she played in this sordid affair? Every instinct screamed at her to retreat, to scream, or to confront them both right then and there. Instead, she trudged onward into the night, a storm brewing inside her. How had everything shattered in mere moments? The grand wedding festivities had moments ago been filled with love and laughter. Now it all felt like a cruel hallucination. The echo of laughter still drifted through the air, mocking her. She could almost see their faces, their blissful ignorance while she stood at the center of a nightmare. Thoughts collided in her mind, and she closed her eyes, trying to process it all. "You don't get to just walk away." Jason's voice pierced the thick silence with desperation. She stopped dead in her tracks, heart racing, but anger surged stronger. "I have every right. You destroyed everything, Jason. I can't let you walk away from this without an explanation," he insisted, his voice low and intense, desperation lacing every word. The woman watched, her shadow expanding as she stepped from the tree line, eyes locked onto Catherine with an unnerving chill. "You should hear him out, Catherine," she said, the sweetness of her tone dripping with insincerity. "There's more to this than you know." Catherine felt the emotions clawing at her. Who did this woman think she was? More to it? Like how you used to help him sneak out behind my back. Jason flinched, yet the woman remained unwavering. A predator watching a wounded animal. "You don't understand anything." Her smile was sinister, sticking like honeyed poison in the air. Catherine's breath quickened as she choked back words that threatened to spill. "I might not understand everything, but I know enough. You think I'll just forget? That I'll back down?" "No," Jason answered, voice taut. "But your anger is driving you to do something reckless." "Reckless?" she hissed, a laugh escaping that held no humor. "You talk of recklessness? You were the one who tossed our love into this pit and made it fester." With every accusation, the tension rose like a coiled spring. The world around her weakened in focus, reducing everything to the ghostly trio encompassing her. She was alone now, encased in a bubble of pain and fury as shadows of forgotten trust spiraled down into darkness. Suddenly, a piercing laughter erupted from the woman, slicing through the air. "Trust is a fragile thing, isn't it? Just like your little wedding. It looks good from afar but crumbles once examined closely." Catherine stepped back, wild eyes darting to Jason. What is she talking about? His face paled. He seemed torn between the two women, regret clinging to his features. "Catherine, please stop." Catherine roared. The force of her rage staggered them both. "If you have something to say, say it now. You owe me that much." The woman took a slow step forward, eyes glinting with victory. "You really have no idea, do you? Things are about to get so much more complicated." Ice shot down Catherine's spine at the finality of her words. For a moment, a silence stretched infinitely, hanging and vibrating, before collapsing into a cacophony of dread. The atmosphere buzzed with an unsettling energy, fear breathing down her neck as dark clouds overshadowed the moon. Instinct clawed at Catherine's gut. This was bigger than Jason's betrayal. Something deeper lurked in the depths of their entwined past. She was no longer merely a victim in her wedding nightmare. She was at the heart of a twisted game. "What is really happening here?" she whispered, barely audible over the whispering winds. But before either of them could respond, footsteps pounded through the foliage behind her, breaking the fragile quiet. Someone was coming, and she could feel her heart speed up, realizing the game was far from over. Would this new arrival shatter the illusion Jason created? Or would they deepen the chasm of betrayal even further? The night pressed on, leaving Catherine spiraled in uncertainty, poised at the brink of a truth darker than she could fathom. Who else would be drawn into this web? Who else held the answers to her spiraling nightmare? Catherine turned, panic gripping her throat. The footsteps grew louder, the snap of twigs underfoot echoing through the charged air. Raw instinct kicked in, fight or flight thrumming deep in her chest. She could feel the malicious gaze of the woman still lingering, a heavy shroud of dread wrapping around her like a vice. Then, emerging from the misty darkness was a figure, tall and imposing. Michael, Jason's brother. His expression was a cocktail of confusion and concern. He halted at the sight of the tense tableau before him. "Catherine?" Michael's voice cut through the tension, filled with an unease that mirrored her own. "What's going on?" "Stay out of this, Michael," Jason barked, his tone both defensive and desperate, as if he feared the truth might spill from his lips. Catherine's heart raced. "No, Michael, you need to hear this. You need to know." The woman stepped forward, her lips curling into a sardonic smile. "Oh, let him listen, darling. This is precisely the moment where things get interesting." "Who are you?" Michael demanded, eyeing both Catherine and the woman with a mix of suspicion and anger. Catherine's breaths quickened as her pulse hammered in her ears. "She's the one, Michael. The one Jason was with that night. The one who know." Jason intervened, moving to block her path. His eyes were wild, as if the unfolding chaos rattled his carefully curated facade. "This isn't how it's supposed to go." Catherine felt the weight of betrayal sharpen into a fierce blade inside her. Not supposed to go? You mean hiding the truth from everyone was supposed to go? Michael looked between them, brow furrowed, trying to grasp the reality unraveling before him. What truth? Catherine's body trembled with rage that threatened to explode. The truth that you two are connected in ways I can't even fathom. That your brother has betrayed me in the most egregious way. Before she could continue, the woman interjected, her fingers twitching with uncontainable glee. You might want to reconsider that, Catherine. What if I told you your precious Jason wasn't the only one keeping secrets? Michael's jaw tightened. His eyes narrowed into slits. What are you talking about? The woman took a step closer, her voice a silky whisper cutting through the chaos. Jason isn't the only one with a sordid past that ties him to our little group. It seems charming Catherine doesn't know just how deeply she's plunged into these murky waters. Jason shifted uncomfortably, eyes darting between them, panic slashing through his bravado. Stop it. Just stop. Catherine's mind raced, a hurricane of confusion and fear. What are you talking about? What do you know? I know about the agreement. The woman sneered, her tone laced with malice, as if savoring the revelation. Agreement? Catherine echoed, confusion knitting her brow. An agreement made long before this farce of a wedding was ever conceived. The woman continued. Pact, if you will. One that involves loyalty, betrayal, and a price to pay. Catherine felt the world spin, the angry buzz of adrenaline mixing with the gnawing fear that poisoned the air. What price? What have you all agreed to? Michael stepped forward, eyes piercing into Jason's, demanding answers while tension crackled around them. What do we not know, Jason? You better start talking. The weight of the night pressed over them all, breathing life into the storm swirling inside Catherine. Anger, desperation, and fear mingled into a volatile cocktail. She could see the cracks in Jason's facade deepening, but with each twisted turn, another question slammed into her heart. Enough games, she shouted, the frustration spilling over. Tell me what's at stake. But before Jason could speak, another sound echoed through the darkness, a car engine roaring to life just beyond the tree line, headlights piercing the night like a beacon of impending doom. Catherine's heart plummeted as she realized not everyone involved wanted the truth to surface. What was coming behind those headlights? Was it reinforcements for Jason or something even more sinister? As the tension crackled mercilessly around them, Catherine braced herself, knowing the answer to her growing questions was mere moments away. Who else would emerge from the shadows to shape the fate of their tangled lives? The night had more secrets to unveil, and there was no telling who would walk away unscathed. The roar of the engine faded, but the headlights carved through the fog like a knife through flesh. Catherine's breaths came in shallow bursts. Michael's face twisted in concern, while Jason's expression morphed into raw panic. Get down, Jason shouted, his voice slicing through the tension as he lunged toward Catherine, attempting to pull her behind him as though he could shield her from the unknown threat. What have you done? Michael growled through gritted teeth, eyes darting between his brother and the encroaching light. He was trapped between disbelief and the bitter taste of betrayal. The woman stood tall, a wicked gleam in her eyes. Let us see who comes to your rescue now. Her voice dripped with malice, a hunter relishing her prey's impending doom. The car drew closer, weaving through the trees, its headlights illuminating twisted branches and casting eerie shadows. The engine's growl grew louder, a beast hungry for attention. Catherine felt her heart pound in sync with the thrum of the vehicle, each beat a countdown to something horrific. You can't just barge in here, Jason yelled, glancing back over his shoulder. He was losing control, and the reality hit Catherine like a slap. She needed to take action. Let me go, she snapped, pushing against Jason. She would not cower any longer. In that instant, the car's tires crunched over gravel, the vehicle coming to a halt mere feet away. The doors slammed open, and silhouettes emerged, shrouded in mystery and malice. Who are you? Michael stammered, his body tense, prepared for a confrontation. Your worst nightmare, a voice retorted, sharp and haunting. A tall figure advanced with an authoritative stride, the others flanking him. Their faces shrouded in shadow, but the glint of something dangerous sparkled in their eyes. Catherine's world tilted as recognition slammed into her. "No," she whispered. "This can't be happening." "Yes, Catherine," the woman said gleefully, relishing her torment. "They are here because you meddled with things you don't understand." Behind the group, an eerie glow flickered a lighter, igniting yet another layer of fear. As smoke curled upward, it revealed that some were not only armed with weapons of intimidation but also an unsettling determination. "Let us settle your little dilemma, shall we?" the leader said, amusement dancing on his lips. "We possess the final pieces of the puzzle, all the secrets your precious Jason has tried so hard to bury." Catherine's heart raced faster than before, every thought racing to understand what was about to unfold. "What do you want?" she blurted, her voice shaky but defiant. The leader stepped closer, illuminating the fire that blazed in his eyes. "We want what was promised. And you, my dear, are about to become a pawn in this game." The woman's laughter shot through the air like glass shattering. "This is where it gets fascinating, Catherine. You'll soon learn the cost of betrayal runs deeper than you ever imagined." Michael's expression shifted, confusion layering with anger. "Jason, what is happening? What did you get us into?" The crisis snapped around them, a bond being tested, lives suspended on a razor's edge. Catherine felt suffocated, the weight of knowledge and fear pressuring against her chest. The darkness felt alive, whispering secrets only it could know. How had it come to this? Then, in a heartbeat, she made a decision. "No, I want to be a pawn." With adrenaline surging, she pushed past Jason, determined to confront the collective storm. But just as she took a step forward, the night erupted with a deafening blast, a gunshot, echoing through the air like thunder. Catherine froze, horror washing over her like icy water. Had the night claimed its first victim? With the stakes now higher than ever, she had one burning question: who would survive this twisted game? Catherine's heart stuttered, the echo of the gunshot cutting through the fog with a clarity that felt surreal. For a heartbeat, time stopped. Who got hit? Jason's voice trembled, barely a whisper, full of dread. He and Michael exchanged frantic glances, terror knitting their brows. "Stay back," the tall leader barked, sweeping his arm toward the shadows. "We don't need any more blood today." With a quick motion, he flipped the switch on a small flashlight, illuminating the scene before them. The pale beam danced across the ground, finding an unmistakable figure crumpled at the foot of a gnarled tree. Catherine's stomach twisted. Was it one of their own? Straining her eyes against the darkness, she leaned forward, desperation clawing at her throat. Please say it's not Michael." Jason surged toward the light, fear giving way to instinct. "Don't," Catherine cried, but he was already moving, determination etched into his features. The leader smirked, unfazed. "What's the matter? No time for a reunion?" The beam found its target. It was an unfamiliar man. He lay sprawled, the fabric of his jacket darkening beneath him like spilled ink. "No." Jason yanked back, eyes wide, shotgun shells of emotion bursting inside him. That's not." Catherine gasped for air, her vision blurring at the edges. The leader watched intently, savoring their confusion. "Welcome to the game, boys." In a moment, the man's eyes fluttered open. "Help me," he croaked, blood spilling from his lips like crimson treachery. What did you do?" Michael accused, his voice thick with accusation. The leader shrugged. "Just a warning shot for those unfit to play." Catherine's mind raced, whirling with past secrets now spiraling toward the surface. She struggled to breathe in the thick air, caught between the gravity of betrayal hovering above them and the precariousness of life teetering before her. "Why are you doing this? What do you want with us?" Catherine fought to keep her voice steady, but panic radiated through her. "What we want." The woman stepped forward, dark amusement dancing in her eyes like a snake coiling before the strike. "We want what Jason promised but never delivered." All the while, Jason's hands trembled at his sides, oscillating between rage and desperation. "No, I didn't promise anything. I was trying to protect you. His voice broke. He was pleading now, and then a shadow flickered behind the group, catching Catherine's attention. It was subtle, but it felt like a crack in the veneer of control imposed by their captors. There was movement. Someone else was here. An unsettling chill gripped her gut. What else is coming? Before she could even start to comprehend her surroundings, the air thickened again and a second shot rang out, shattering the tang of uncertainty. Run! The cry escaped Catherine's lips before she could stop it. Instinct kicked in, and her eyes darted back to Michael, whose fear mirrored her own. Without waiting to see what happened next, she seized Jason's arm, pulling him with her into the rich embrace of the fog, praying it would shield them from the chaos behind. But as they dashed away, a growl built in the darkness, echoing the menacing laughter of the figures behind them. Would they escape the unknown fate looming behind? The scent of treachery lingered, stinging their senses. Catherine stole a glance over her shoulder as they ran, her pulse pounding in her ears. The night was no longer merely empty. It was filled with eyes watching, waiting. There was one certainty pressing down on her like a weight. She had ignited something darker, and the true cost was yet to be paid. Where do we go? Jason shouted amidst the pulse of terror. Catherine barely registered his question. All she felt was the overwhelming urge to survive, to discover a way out of the labyrinth of betrayal. But unseen forces converged, and she had to ask herself, was the game already rigged against them? And then, just ahead, the flicker of something left behind caught her eye, a dim light glittering through the trees. Hope sparkled with danger. What awaited them in the glimmering distance? Catherine fought to keep her legs pumping beneath her, the echo of their captors' laughter ringing in her ears like a death knell. We can't stop, she shouted, urgency spurring them forward. The glimmering light grew brighter, cutting through the oppressive darkness, a beacon in the night. Would it lead to safety, or was it another trap? As they stumbled closer, heavy breaths mingling with the night air, the light revealed itself as an old, dilapidated cabin, its windows glowing with an eerie warmth. Catherine hesitated. The flickering light felt like a siren call, but something deep inside warned her of the dangers hidden within. Is it safe? Jason's question hung in the air, thick with apprehension. We have to take the chance, Catherine said, steeling herself. There was no turning back now. We can't stay out here. They slid into the cabin, the heavy door scraping against the wooden floor. A musty smell greeted them, mingled with the scent of soot from an unfinished fire. Moonlight painted the interior in stark whites and shadows, their forms casting long silhouettes as they moved cautiously inside. The moment they crossed the threshold, the world outside faded, muffled by the walls, leaving only the rhythm of their panicked breaths. Check for weapons, Michael said, voice barely above a whisper as he stepped toward a rusty metal shelf lined with crumbling, dusty books. Caution hung in the air, a tension that pulled at their sanity. Catherine scanned the room, anxiety bubbling just below the surface. In a darkened corner, she spotted shapes that looked like old rifles and rusty tools. Over here, she pointed, adrenaline charging through her limbs. Look, Jason's voice shot through her thoughts. He was at the window, peering out into the murky night. They're coming. Catherine's heart raced as she turned to see shadows lurking just beyond the trees, shifting dangerously close, hunting them. The laughter echoed again, sending chills down her spine. We have to barricade the door, she urged, shoving a nearby table against it. Michael joined, his face set in grim determination. Are they the only ones after us? Jason's question trembled in the stillness. Did they follow us from the party? Catherine shot him a look, her mind racing. The last conversations at the party, Jason's promises and secrets, flooded back to her. Promises made in whispers, shadows looming over gestures of affection. And now this? A loud bang rattled the door, splintering her thoughts. The laughter grew louder, mingled with taunting shouts. Time for your wedding, Catherine. Hope you're ready for your groom. The twisted taunt hung in the air, sending icy fingers down her spine. This was madness, betrayal. Bursts of anger ignited her fear. I didn't ask for this. You brought me into this. She shouted back at the door. Michael spun around, eyes fierce. We can't just let them in. We have to fight. Catherine nodded, adrenaline mixing with determination. They think we're powerless, but they don't know what we're capable of. With renewed spirit, she grabbed a rusted rifle from the shelf. It felt heavy in her hands, but the weight steadied her resolve. Just then, the door shuddered violently, splinters flying. Get down, she yelled, instinct kicking in. As the door gave way, revealing their tormentors launching into the cabin, her decision crystallized in an instant. They were not prey. They were still alive, and fighting back was the only option left. With her heart pounding, she aimed the rifle, ready to defend her life, her honor, and everything she held dear. With every ounce of strength, she prepared for the chaos that would unfold. As the first shadow lunged into the cabin, Catherine couldn't help but wonder, was this truly the beginning of a fight for survival? Or was it just the beginning of something far more insidious? Catherine steadied her breath. The twisted shadows burst through the splintered door, and chaos erupted within the cabin. Adrenaline surged through her, heightening her senses as she raised the rifle, heart racing at the prospect of facing what lay ahead. The moonlight barely reached the intruders, casting long dark forms against the walls like spectral demons. "Michael, watch my back!" she shouted, eyes darting between the men charging at them. The first figure lunged, a hulking mass, howling as though possessed by something dark. Catherine squeezed the trigger, her fingers trembling. The rifle roared, and the man staggered back, crashing to the floor. A gash spewed crimson from his shoulder, staining the wooden planks. She felt a pulse of satisfaction but quickly pushed it aside. There was no time to celebrate. "Get the others," she yelled, urging Jason and Michael into action. They needed to reclaim their space, the cabin or the grave, and she wasn't about to let this twisted party end in defeat. "I see them," Jason called out, shoving a second man aside who had tried to flank them. The guy tumbled to the ground, thrashing wildly, his face a mask of rage and confusion. "Don't waste time. Finish them." Catherine's voice was sharp, turning her fear into raw strength. She swung the rifle again, trying to anticipate the next threat. Shadows twisted in the small window, howling laughter echoing back from the darkness outside. They were outnumbered, she realized, and each moment they fought, the odds climbed further against them. The shrieks outside mingled with the noise of flesh on flesh as they defended their corner of hell. Michael wrestled one of the attackers to the ground, a vicious struggle erupting beside her. Catherine aimed her weapon, heart twisting. Suddenly, thick hands gripped her shoulders from behind, and she whipped around, gun raised. A whisper curled in her ear, "You should have joined us." Catherine, the voice rang familiar, sending icy tendrils creeping up her spine. It was the kind of voice she once trusted, filled with promises now crumbling like autumn leaves. It was him. "Jason," she called, backing off as she aimed the rifle at the intruder's face. "Get away from me." But Jason was on the floor, wrestling another shadow and trying to pull himself together under a mountain of chaos as he shouted back, "That's not me." "Then who is it?" Catherine's voice shook. She couldn't tear her gaze away from the smirk that twisted the intruder's lips. "Much more than a simple friend," he taunted, ushering another figure forward, revealing another face she knew too well, her supposed ally. "You thought you could escape unscathed? This is your new reality." The cabin swayed with shadows as the truth hit her like a brick. The laughter from the night, the schemes whispered in the dark. They hadn't been her enemies. They had all been in on it together. This was betrayal dressed as a game, and she had been the ultimate pawn. "No!" Panic clawed at Catherine. She turned the rifle toward the familiar face daring to close in. With a surge of vindication fueling her rage, she pulled the trigger. The sound echoed off the cabin walls, drowning out everything else. But then another body crashed into her from the side. The rifle clattered to the floor, skirting out of reach as she fell back, gasping. "Not now. Not like this." In that moment of vulnerability, the lights flickered wildly, and silence wrapped itself around the chaos. The laughter was gone, leaving them encased in a suffocating void. Friends became foes, and she was caught in their twisted web. Catherine's resolve deepened as she realized they hadn't just come to play. They had come to finish what they started. In the dark, whispers brushed against her ears like shadows, spinning tales of revenge and darkness that left her questioning everything. Who could she still trust? As she scrambled to her feet, she knew now this wasn't merely a fight for survival but a fight for clarity, for her sanity, for the truth behind the lies spun so ruthlessly among friends. What began as a desperate escape was rapidly shaping into a reckoning. And in the throes of darkness, she found the spark of her own unyielding spirit. But as suspicion gave way to a new kind of survival, another thought gripped her. Who was really in control of this nightmare, and just how deep did this betrayal run? The creeping shadows loomed larger, and as she faced them with renewed fury, a new question echoed through her mind. What would she have to sacrifice to turn the tables? Catherine struggled to her feet, heart pounding like a tribal drum in her chest. The air was thick with tension, a stench of betrayal mixing with the dampness of fear. She didn't have the rifle, but she couldn't let that stop her. Her eyes burned as she took stock of her surroundings, shadows dancing malevolently, fragments of moonlight casting eerie patterns across the floor. "Fight! Don't back down!" Michael yelled, grappling with the man who had jumped her. His voice rallied her, piercing through the haze of dread. She rushed forward to help him, adrenaline flooding her veins as she launched herself into the fray. The familiar face twisted into a grimace of rage. It was her supposed ally, Charles, pulling at the jagged strings of a shattered trust. "You really thought this was over, Catherine?" he spat, flinging Michael aside like a rag doll. "You're the last piece in the puzzle." They were all in on it, she thought bitterly. Each laugh shared at her expense echoed in her mind, feeding her desperation. She tackled Charles, wrestling with him on the floor, her fists meeting his face with primal fury. He swung wildly, knocking her to the side, but she was quick scrambling back to her feet. She spotted the rifle nearby. "Stop!" Jason's voice broke through the chaos, but it was too late. The darkness within her surged. She wouldn't let them win. With one swift moment, she secured the gun and aimed it at Charles, who was now standing, a look of disbelief mingling with surprise. "Do it," he taunted, holding his arms out wide in mock submission. "You think you can scare me? You play right into their hands if you pull that trigger." Catherine hesitated, the conflicted emotions swirling inside her. It wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about defiance. It was about reclaiming power from those who had betrayed her. "Charles," she shouted, forcing herself to maintain eye contact. "What makes you think I won?" Laughter erupted from behind, another shadow emerging. The attacker circled like a vulture, calculating. "Time's ticking, Catherine. Do you really believe you can fight against what you can't understand?" The words dripped with malice. It wasn't a fight for life anymore. It was a twisted game of wills. Catherine felt the weight of uncertainty pressing down hard on her. She couldn't let fear dictate her actions, but doubt clawed at her mind. She needed to know what they all had planned. "I will win," she hissed, her grip tightening on the rifle. "You'll tell me everything." Another figure emerged from the shadow, Samantha, a cold smirk marking her face as she stepped forward, her wicked laughter slicing through the mounting tension. "How naive, Catherine. You're too late. The real game begins now." The confidence in Samantha's eyes sent ice through Catherine's veins. She was backed into a corner, no clear path to victory, and suddenly the cabin felt even smaller, the walls closing in on her. There was an unmistakable shift in the air, a promise of violence lingering dangerously close. This wasn't just about fighting back. Now it was about survival against a foe she couldn't fully see. "You're wrong," Catherine breathed, her voice steady, hiding the tremor inside. "I know more than you think." The moment hung heavy, tension coiling like a snake ready to strike. Just as she was about to fire, Michael, still recovering, lunged, knocking the gun to the side. A shot rang out, deafening, but it was unclear who had been hit. "Run!" Jason shouted. Before she could process the command, Michael was dragging her towards the side exit, but the shadows swarmed. It was chaos, bodies colliding, hearts racing, and Catherine had one thought pushing her forward. She had to break free and discover the true nature of their betrayal. She didn't just want answers now. She needed them. They barreled toward the door, but even as they reached it, a blood-curdling scream pierced the night, freezing Catherine in place. Who was it? What had just happened inside the cabin? The shadows were still moving behind them, and with the mount of uncertainty looming, a chilling realization settled in somewhere in the cabin. More betrayals awaited. What would she uncover when she forced her way back in? And would she be prepared for the truth? Catherine's mind raced, a whirlwind of panic and fury. The moment was surreal, each second ticking by like the echo of a distant drum. She had been a bride hours ago, sparkling with joy and hope, and now she was standing on the brink of chaos. Everything she had known was shredded, entrapped in a web of deceit that stretched far beyond Jason's betrayal. Michael pulled her out of the cabin as screams echoed behind them. What just happened? Who screamed? He demanded, breathless, scanning the shadows that flickered in the moonlight. Jason glanced back, eyes wide in desperation, his voice a shaky whisper. No one stays alive if we don't move. They stumbled into the forest, the path littered with underbrush and uncertainty. Catherine's heartbeat thudded against her ribs, loud and insistent. We have to go back, she insisted, her voice firm despite the tremors that rattled her core. We can't leave it like this. We have to know who's behind this. Jason's expression flickered with fear. Catherine, there's no guarantee whatever's inside won't finish us off like they did him. Exactly. We need to fight back. Anger surged, fueling her resolve. Betrayal had twisted every friendship, turned love into weaponry. There was no escape, only confrontation, and she wouldn't be silenced anymore. Michael nodded, a flicker of determination igniting in his eyes. I'm with you. Let us end this. They hesitated at the door, hearing the faint sounds of shuffling and muffled voices. Jason's hand trembled on the handle, uncertainty battling courage. Once we go in, there's no turning back. You both need to be ready for the truth. Catherine straightened, pushing against the weariness gripping her heart. We're ready. She felt a flicker of hope spark against the dark doubts she couldn't let them down. They might be trapped in a horror show, but they could orchestrate the finale. With a tug, Jason swung the door open. Moonlight flooded the cabin, illuminating chaos. Shadows danced in the corners like live spirits, whispering secrets only they could unveil. Samantha stood in the center, wild-eyed, her voice dripping with amusement as she surveyed the scene. Look who finally decided to join the party. Enough games. Michael shouted, pushing past Jason, his anger resonating against the wooden walls. He squared himself against her. Tell us what's happening. Why should I? When you're all so entertaining. She laughed, a sound devoid of warmth. You think this is about betrayal? Petty fights over love? Catherine stepped forward, heart firing with rage. What are you really after? What pact did you make? You're just a pawn, Catherine. Samantha sneered, the glint in her eyes sharp. You'll soon see there's a greater game afoot. Just answer me. Catherine exploded, fists clenched. Was it worth sacrificing friends to protect your twisted ambitions? But before Samantha could tease out an answer, the shadows behind her shifted. The other figures emerged from the dark, faces twisted with delight, mirroring Samantha's amusement, but tinged with something sinister. Catherine sensed a storm gathering, the tide about to turn, but she, too, held the fires of rebellion. Then let us turn this game on its head, Catherine said, her voice a low growl of contempt. No more pawns. We're fighting back. She charged forward, anger already boiling, snatching up the nearest weapon within reach. Get them, Samantha commanded, lunging toward Michael. The chaos erupted, bodies colliding, adrenaline unleashing primal instincts. Yet amidst the frenzy, Catherine felt a strange certainty sweep over her. She was no longer just a victim but a force to be reckoned with. Jason stood beside her, raw determination in his gaze, and in that moment, Catherine did the unthinkable. "We stand together," she shouted, bolstered by Michael and Jason's rallying cries. "We'll figure this out," Michael said fiercely, engaging head-on with the tide of attackers. They fought for more than survival, now they fought for clarity against the veils of betrayal that had almost suffocated them. The fray swirled around them, echoing shouts, clashing bodies, and the finality of choice. This was their reckoning, their moment to reclaim everything that had been turned upside down. Each sound underscored a promise. They were not walking away empty-handed. And as the tide began to turn, Catherine realized this was her fight. No more half-truths or broken pieces. The reality they had woven together would now unravel in a symphony of redemption. The final blow cracked through the room, and as the clashes quieted, shadows retreated, the stark truth drew closer. They wouldn't just escape. They rewrite the ending on their terms, finally immune to the whispers of doubt. Catherine turned to Jason, eyes fierce yet vulnerable. "What do we do now?" she asked, pulse still wild from the fight. He moved closer, their shared breaths mingling in the dimness, excitement flickering anew. "Now we find the truth, together." And as the last of the shadows fluttered into retreat, they stepped toward the light. Subscribe immediately to ensure you don't miss out on the next exclusive stories that unfold. This is the moment to show your support. Smash that like button now. It truly helps feed the algorithm, so we can bring more engaging content to you. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. What do you think we'll uncover next? Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.